How do you deal with a know-it-all, right? Especially if you're at work, how do you deal with somebody that's super arrogant and cocky all the time? And more importantly, what actions should we take to get on these types of people's good side? Don't worry, guys, we're going to address all these questions right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Danilo Caprick here, aka the best dressed man in tech sales. And in this video, we're going to talk about something that's crucially important and a life skill that everybody should have. And that is, how do you deal with people that you can't stand? More importantly in this video, how do you deal with someone that's a know-it-all? How do you deal with someone who's arrogant or cocky or likes to be the smartest person in the room? Don't worry, we're going to get to that right now. All right, guys, so first thing that we want to do when we're dealing with someone who likes to be the smartest person in the room or is really arrogant or cocky is we want to let them assume the position that they want to be in. So for example, I once upon a time got a client right at work, and the previous account rep told me, hey, look out, this person loves to be the smartest person in the room. They're very arrogant and they're really a know-it-all. So knowing that information, I approached that meeting and I said, you know what? If they love to be a know-it-all, I'm gonna let them be a know-it-all and actually educate me. And that's how I can get the information I need while also making them feel good and giving them that power position that they crave. So what I did in that meeting was I went ahead and I said, hey, you know what? I tried my best to study your business, but I still, for some reason, just don't get it. And I handed him a whiteboard marker and I said, would you mind whiteboarding it out like you would tell it to a fifth grader or a kindergartner? And they went nuts. They literally grabbed the marker and they started explaining everything left and right. And it was perfect because I let them assume the position that they wanted. And all I had to do was sit back, say nothing, and take notes and ask questions, right? Let them lead. So that's what I mean when I say, let them assume the position that they want, give them the power. And again, take that role where you can step back and let them lead, because let's be real, that's what they want at the end of the day, is to assume that position of power. All right, guys, the second thing we want to consider doing when it comes to dealing with people that like to be a know-it-all or like to be in a position of power or the cocky or arrogant is we want to do something that actually comes from the book 48 Laws of Power. And the first law in that book, believe it or not, is don't outshine the master, okay? And that's what we want to do as step number 2 is try to never outshine this person. And we want to keep this in mind, you guys, because let's be real, if somebody likes to be arrogant, cocky, or know-it-all, or in the highest position possible, if we try to outshine them, they're going to perceive us as a threat, right? They're not going to take too kindly to that, and it might even inspire them to plot against us or become envious of us in some way. And so in order to reduce the chances of both of those things happening, what we want to do is let them have the shine, okay? And we do this by not really playing up our abilities too much, kind of downplaying ourselves when appropriate, which can be done with playful humor or a little bit of, kind of self-deprecating humor, right? Like, well, I'm not that smart at that, or even acting a little clumsy at times with whatever it might be. Or saying, I don't know, right? Just not sharing your opinion as often. But again, guys, we want to not outshine the master in this case because we don't want to give them the impression that we're trying to compete with them in any type of way. And the other thing that we might want to keep in mind as well to not outshine the master is to let them talk, right? Keep the spotlight on them and let them do the talking and let them assume that position. So again, they don't see that we're trying to compete or always, interrupt them from speaking or anything like that. So lesson number 2, don't outshine the master, let them have the shine. All right, guys, the third thing that we want to keep in mind when we're dealing with people who are cocky, arrogant, or like to be the smartest person in the room is we want to react positively to their insights, okay? What do I mean exactly? Well, when they're sharing things, we want to give them the impression that this information is really useful or that it's really insightful. And we can do this with our body language and our facial impressions. And we can also say things like, wow, that's really insightful. How did you learn all this? And we can just ask questions about them to, again, keep that spotlight there so that way they feel like whatever they're sharing is super valuable and important, okay? The other thing that we can do is ask them for advice and say, wow, you're really knowledgeable about this stuff. What advice would you have for someone like me who's trying to, kind of get into that next level or whatever it might be that they're doing very well, right? And that's a way that you can, again, give them the impression that, hey, what they're saying, it has massive value. And by you reacting positively to what they have to say, they are going to like you, and we increase the likelihood that you get on their good side and that they do not decide to plot against you or get envious in any kind of way, because you are essentially becoming a fan, right? You're telling them and positively reinforcing that, hey, what you're saying is golden. I'm getting a lot of value from this. How did you become like this? right? So again, we want to react positively to their sentiment and make sure that we're not reacting negatively or disagreeing with what they say all the time. All right, guys, so there you have it. 3 specific techniques that you can use to, again, coexist when somebody is being really arrogant, super cocky, or likes to be the smartest person in the room. All right, so let's go ahead and recap at this point. Number 1, we talked about how to put them in the position that they want to be in, right? So if they like to be the smartest person in the room, let them be the smartest. Go ahead and ask them, hey, how do you do this? I know you've been doing this for a long time. What would you say about how to go about this process, right? Whatever it is, but let them be that person they want to be, right? Number 2, we talked about how to not outshine the master, all right? And what we mean by this is we don't want to come off as threatening or like we're trying to compete with them. Instead, what we want to do is downplay our own abilities, not talk about ourselves too much, and actually just put the spotlight on them. Okay, so number 2, don't try to outshine the master. And number 3, guys, we talked about reacting positively to the insights that they share. Okay, we want to do this because we want to give them the impression that what they're sharing is super valuable and is actually having massive impact to us. And we can do this by asking more questions, being curious, and even complimenting them by saying, wow, you're really insightful. How did you learn all this? We can even ask for advice because that, again, is a way of putting them in a higher position than us and, again, makes us non-threatening. All right, so there you guys have it. 3 specific tips you can use to coexist with people who are arrogant, cocky, or like to be the smartest person in the room. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video today. I hope it brings some value to you in your life that you can use at work or maybe in your personal life. Either way, if you enjoyed today's video, please hit the subscribe button below. And also, if you're not doing so already, follow me on LinkedIn and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy now.